So today I'll be working on a project that I've been wanting to do for a while. I was trying to get my hands on an NES Classic, which we all know is next to impossible to obtain without spending a lot of money. So I came across RetroPie and I decided it would be a good alternative to the NES Classic. In this video I will show you how to build the RetroPie using products that stay true to the NES look and feel. I will go ahead and get started by showing you all the components that are necessary to complete this project. So the first component we're going to need here is the Raspberry Pi Zero W. The W version has the built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and this is the latest version available at the time of this video. Next, you will need a micro SD card. You will need at least a 4 GB micro SD card to install the RetroPie image. The next component we have is the case to hold the Raspberry Pi. I wanted a case that resembles the NES Classic look. You can really use any case that is available for the Raspberry Pi Zero. I purchased this case on Etsy from a store called Collector Craft VG. I'll put a link in the description if you are interested. Moving forward, we have the controller by 8BitDo. This is the NES 30 model. The reason I chose this controller is because it has Bluetooth capability and it has the left and right shoulder buttons that enables you to play Super Nintendo games as well as NES. This controller was purchased from Amazon. I will provide the link for this in the description as well. Next, you will need a micro USB to USB adapter. This is going to allow us to plug in wired controllers or input devices. I purchased this from Adafruit.com. Additionally, you will need a mini HDMI to standard HDMI adapter. This will enable us to use our RetroPie with a standard HDMI interface. The last item you will need is a 5-volt power adapter with a USB micro cable. This will be used to power on the device. Like I said before, I will make sure to provide all the links to each of the items needed down in the description box below. Now we are going to start assembling the RetroPie. The first step is to write the RetroPie image to the micro SD card. So you'll want to insert your micro SD card into the card adapter. Then insert the card adapter into your card reader on your computer. To write the RetroPie image, we're going to download a disk imager. For Windows, the common application is Win32 Disk Imager. For Mac, you can use Apple Pi Baker. Once you have the disk imager downloaded and installed, we will need to download a RetroPie image from retropie.org.uk. When you are downloading the image from the website, make sure you select the download link for Raspberry Pi Zero. Once the image is downloaded, you will need to extract the image. Then open Win32 Disk Imager and select the RetroPie image that we extracted. After the image is selected, go ahead and click the Write button. This process takes a few minutes to complete. When that completes, go ahead and exit the disk imager. Then eject the micro SD card from the computer. When it's safely ejected, remove the card from the card reader. Then go ahead and remove the micro SD card from the adapter and insert it into the Raspberry Pi. Now I will secure the Raspberry Pi into my case. This one requires 4 screws, so I'll go ahead and screw it in now. Next, we'll need to insert the micro USB to USB adapter into the case. Then I will need to place the top half of the case back on and secure it with 2 screws. The next step is to plug the keyboard into the USB port in front of the case. We will then use the micro HDMI cable to plug in the monitor into the RetroPie. To power on the RetroPie, you will insert the micro USB power cable into the power jack on the back of the RetroPie case. It will take a few seconds to boot up. Once it's fully booted, it will ask you to configure your keyboard. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Once the keyboard has been configured, we will want to set up the Bluetooth controller. To do this, we will enter into the Raspberry Pi configuration. We will then select Bluetooth. At this point, we'll want to put our Bluetooth controller into pairing mode. To do this, with this controller, I have to hold down the start button for 3 seconds until I see the blue LED flash every second. Once our controller is in pairing mode, we can go ahead and select Register and Connect Bluetooth Device. We will see a searching screen for a short time. We will then be presented with a list of devices. Within that list, we should see our Bluetooth controller listed. Select the Bluetooth controller and select OK. Choose the Display Yes/No option to complete the registration process. At this point, the registration should be complete, and you should now see a solid blue LED light on the controller. Now that the controller is paired, go ahead and select Cancel to exit the Bluetooth configuration. You will be back at your RetroPie configuration screen. From there, go ahead and select Start or Enter on your keyboard. This will pull up the main menu. From here, you will want to select Configure Input. It will ask you if you are sure you want to configure input. You will go ahead and select Yes. At this point, you will need to hold down any button on your controller. It will then detect your controller and bring us into the configuration menu. You will want to select the appropriate button on your controller to map the RetroPie configuration to your controller. I will go ahead and do that now. On this controller, we are going to configure just the D-pad, Start Select, the A, B, X, Y buttons, and the left shoulder and right shoulder buttons. All of the other buttons are not used, so you'll want to hold down any button to skip over these. Once that's done, you can select OK and then push the Start button. Now we can move on to loading ROMs onto your RetroPie. Before we can add the ROMs, we will need to make sure the RetroPie is joined to our wireless network. To do this, you'll want to go into the RetroPie configuration and select Wi-Fi. Here you can search for your network and enter your network key to join. Your IP address should be listed in the configuration screen. You'll want to note this for loading ROMs. Once you are connected to Wi-Fi, then you can move on to loading ROMs. There are 2 ways to do this. One involves using a USB flash drive, the other involves navigating to your RetroPie's IP address and transferring the ROMs over your network. I prefer to transfer ROMs over the network because I think it's easier, but I will be sure to add instructions for loading them using the USB flash drive down in the description box. If you are interested in where to find ROMs, you can do a quick Google search and find plenty of resources. I have some ROMs downloaded now, so I'm going to show you how to load them onto your RetroPie. You will need to pull up Windows File Explorer window and navigate to your Raspberry Pi's IP address. Once you navigate to the IP address, you're going to see a list of folders, and we will want to select the ROMs directory. You will then want to locate the NES directory and copy your ROMs to that location. Once the ROMs are copied to this location, you'll want to make sure to reboot the Raspberry Pi to make the games available from the NES RetroPie menu. From there, you can launch your games in your set. As you can see, this is a fairly easy project to complete. Personally, I think this is a great, if not better, alternative to the NES Classic. The RetroPie allows you more flexibility with the games and even the platforms you can choose from. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.